Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Happy Money Mentorship Day. I absolutely love doing these conversations around getting people's relationship right with money, wealth, and worth. And I love in particular doing them with you because it's real. It's not just a lecture. It's not just a sort of download. It's a conversation. And it's always a great one when I see Phil Mills with a clean haircut. I mean, Lauren's not too far behind. Looks like Lauren's got a haircut too for the new year. I got to tell you, looking sharp, Lauren, looking sharp. It's good to see Don Rossum in the house. Yusuf, did you get a haircut too? Come on, man. You did it? Oh, man. Oh, man. Yusuf looks like he's got it cut. Mike's always looking sharp. Good to see you, brother. I'm happy you're here. You're a part of this conversation moving forward. But I just want to make sure I just get a little bit of a road call because I know we're just about to go live. Correction, we are live. And we're about to roll with the lecture. I mean, it's great to see Danielle on the move. Please be safe. Jan Hurwitz, my dear friend. Good to see you. Good morning. It's good to see Nima. It's great to have you here, Jay, all the way from Tampa Bay. I got to say, Naran Kalathungam, great to see you, partner. It's great to see Vincent Sundar, my other cool cinnamon brother. It's great to have Arun here. Great to have Mark Jean, business machine, 10Xing all the time. And as I said, I love having these conversations around money because when you think about conversations about improving yourself, when you talk about things where we all love hearing how to get from A to B, and B is always better than A. It's always wonderful to hear people's perspectives about how would they get there. And we take parts of what they say on. We like what they said. We may have liked one of 3 points they made. They may have showed you two ways. You choose one. It's a wonderful experience learning things anew. And so I know who you are on this call. I know that you enjoy learning. I know that you're committed to growing. And I want to acknowledge you for that. I just want to make sure you know that if you're here to grow to there. Does that make sense? Just give me an okay. That's a very big deal. This is not an entertainment channel. I'm not here to entertain you, although sometimes I do. I am guilty of such. Latif would tell you, Tracy would tell you, Louis would tell you. But the reality for me is that this year is a little bit different for all things rich. And when I say that as a team. I have a very small boutique office. We run our company with just about 14 people. And I'm grateful to all of them for what they do. And we're really zeroing in on what difference we want to make in this new year. And we're very clear on the mission we've got. And I've got to be honest, it's taken us about 2 years to get focused. And if you're writing down notes, and the point of today's lecture has got something to do with the term focus. Focus is a very important term. Focus is a very important relationship you must have with your existence and experience of life, because focus allows you by definition to concentrate. To concentrate. And so when you realize that this is a function of experience, one that is called focus, to first tell you how we focus, we're really clear on what we're up to. We just had a lovely rich mastermind a couple nights ago. Thumbs up to those who were there. Thumbs up to those who were on the panel. And one of the things we accomplished was approaching the new year by way of making a statement for ourselves so that the world knew what we stood for, what we were up to, and what they can count on us for. So unlike a New Year resolution or even an intention, the statement is far broader and it gives rise to structure and systems that would support it. So if someone says, I want to run a marathon, and that's the statement, then the structures that come behind it will be joining a gym, hiring a trainer, moving my nutrition. It might even mean shifting my environment, as my dear friend Louis would remind me. Great rich shirt there, Louis. I see you, buddy, representing. So with that being said, then the systems are the bells and whistles, the alarms and flags that would be behind you to say, reminder, time to train. Reminder, you're behind on your training schedule. Reminder, you've not yet run that far, or you've not yet broken that milestone. So far, so good. So today, what I want to do, given this is the first money coaching call of a new calendar year, it's always a great time to reset, right? To be able to reset. It's a great time to reset. This is the perfect time that if you're a coach or a trainer or an advisor, a consultant, if you're in the education business or the human betterment business, this is the right time to reach out to everybody that you've got on your phone, in your database, in your email list to say, hey, the new year is here. And whatever goals and commitments and aspirations you've set your eyes on, you can count on me to always be there to support you in those pursuits. Let me know how I can help. Let me know if we need a conversation. Let me know if I can be of service or simply be your friend. Because our attention levels on that is right now, right here, but not for long. Because back to that term focus. Focus by definition is a center of activity, attraction, or attention. So when you think focus, you think center. When you think center, you've got to think attention. I've often said that wherever your attention goes, your body follows. Wherever your attention goes, your body follows. And this is a very, very important fact when riding a motorcycle, driving a car, entering a ring before a match, right, Yusuf? Getting into a deal, brokering a joint venture, or just simply being with your child. If your attention is taken away, so does your body, and everyone notices. So when it comes to focus, though, by definition, and I want to reference these definitions, which aren't mine, they're Oxford dictionaries, it's a point of concentration. It's a state or condition that's permitting clear perception or understanding. Now, what's interesting about that is that it's a state. And when you think of state, I cannot say state without saying my favorite human being's name, Tony Robbins. I mean, he's a big ambassador for state. He's someone who understands state. And in fact, when he first hit the stage and he would say, come on, say I, and people would be like, that is so weird. It sounds strange. Say I. You're such a dictator. But he knew and he knows and he operates on understanding that if you're able to manage your state, you're able to produce success because state embodies your focus that actually, in fact, defines and shapes your attention, your bandwidth, your resources, your time. But what I love about the definition of focus is this one. And it comes deep in the Oxford Dictionary when you really dig deep into what focus means really. And I love this one. It's a point of convergence. Now, I know we're talking about money today, and we're getting to that in a moment, but I can't help but talk about why focus is so important for human beings, especially right now as we're very, very aware of the chance and the opportunity right now at the turn of a new lunar year to say, hey, what am I focusing on? Because when you dig a little bit deeper on the point of convergence, to be in focus is to be sharp, and to be out of focus is to lose all sight. So our relationship to focus matters. Our relationship to focus matters. If you wear eyeglasses, you get this more than anybody else. You'd be like, Rich, move on. I get the point. I remove them. I can't see. I put them back on. It brings everything back into focus. But even those with great eye focus lack human focus. When you understand that the state of being focused is really to cause to be concentrated, to bring everything that is far into close view. So enough with the focus, but here's why that matters. This is about financial focus. When you think about financial focus is the one area of your life that you can, in fact, really put some time and effort into. That should you, in fact, be focused on your financial life and the areas that matter most to you, you'll then have a clearer, sharper relationship to where you should be putting your time, where you should be putting your effort, and if, in fact, it's even working. So far, so good. Just give me a thumbs up. So who here would agree? I just want to hear maybe from your voice, who here has experienced that in having a lack of focus, let alone financial focus, you might determine or now can sense that that might be one of the culprits for why you're not getting where you wish to be financially. After all, 92% of the time, then we set New Year resolutions according to surveys, they're financial ones. I'm going to save money. I'm going to get rid of debt. I'm going to make more. I'm going to have more. And there's nothing wrong with that. Those are great New Year resolutions. But remember what my problem is with the term resolution, right? It's an action yet to be experienced. It's to resolve. What's better is a New Year intention. I'm going to live this year according to a budget. I'm going to track what I spend. I'm going to invest to generate a yield. I need to make this much money per month in addition to, et cetera, et cetera. So I believe, and this might sound like a very cool statement, but I believe that this is all giving rise, before I go to Louis, it's giving rise to a new kind of financial life conversation. And for today's conversation, I'm going to break down what that is. I'm going to break down not only what that conversation is, the moving parts in it, but I'm going to arm you with the areas that we lose our financial focus in so that you, from this call forward, from this day on, you're able to restore your financial focus at the snap of a finger, just knowing those 4 things. Cool? All right, I'm going to go to Louis first in Toronto and see what he's got to say. What's going on, man? Good morning to you, buddy. I trust you're well. It looks like you're on the move, and I'm unmuting you there. There you go.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Richard. I'll make it quick because I have a bit of noise, but focus has allowed me to concentrate my efforts so I can achieve more. That's what I realized, and I've realized that in a very short period of time. And focus has turned all of my efforts into just compounding results.
I love it. I love it. And I mean, you're a man of focus, a fellow Rich Mastermind advocate, participant, and a graduate of some of the financial life professional material. So you're a great living demonstration of that work. But here's what I want you to write down if you're making any notes. And you know that I'm a feverish note taker. You know that every time I tell people to write things down, I'm not being bossy. I'm trying to be responsible to make sure that you've got an opportunity to hardwire new insights. Make sense? When you write things down, you retain them twice as long. And when you talk about it within 24 hours, you're able to hardwire it 10 times greater because it now embeds into your long-term memory rather than just short-term memory. Good to see you, though, Christian. Good to see you, brother. I see you on the move. Good to see you, Michelle, Dr. Claudine in the house. Good to see you guys. So let's get started. I made some notes here, and I want to make sure I share them with you because I really was committed to making sure that this was a very accurate, very on-point lecture. So for me, as I sat, I noticed that over the holidays, I had a lot of great friends that reached out to me and asked for advice, asked for my opinion, just asked for my thoughts and asked me this in general. They said, Rich, given how your history and trajectory has gone the way it has, how did you find the one thing to focus on among all things? How did you find that one thing that really spoke to you and it had you zero in? It had you concentrate. It had you become the guy on that topic. And that's sort of the summation of what I was asked. In various ways, I was asked differently, but that's what I got. A good number of people asked me that question. So in response to that, here's what I want to say just by way of sharing. As a self-made entrepreneur, I became very good at a lot of things, and that helped me make ends meet. I mean, I was the jack of all trades because I wasn't really living with the qualifications I needed to be in the world I was in. I grew up in the financial services business. I was in the wealth management world, and I hadn't gotten there the traditional way. I didn't have a real great degree from an Ivy League school. I wasn't a part of the Lucky Sperm Club. And I certainly didn't get in there because of my family's relationships or name. I really just simply begged my way into that company because I was absolutely astonished with my experience of what Wall Street was. I just wanted to be there. So what's amazing is that anything I was asked to do, I became good at. Not great at, but good at. So I found that over the years, I became very good at many things, but I became a master of none. And the worst part about becoming good at many things, I didn't have a good, strong sense of self in the midst of doing many things well. Does that make sense? I noticed myself actually envying friends of mine. I had a very dear friend who was an electrician. And I said, man, Joe, I just envy you because that's who he is. That's what he does. So meanwhile, I do a lot of different things, but I wasn't an electrician. What I did for a living, what I did to make money wasn't very specific. And to what to call that was very unusual. Back in my time, I guess I would have been considered a consultant, but I just did things that were far bigger than a consultant, because after all, consultants also were called to do a specific thing. Company going through massive changes, you called a change consultant. We needed to grow our people. You hired a training consultant, right? You were going to restructure the company. You found yourself a restructuring consultant. But I did all those things. And so it was very lonely as I continued to find and continued to search, and quite frankly, struggled with finding my personal focus. What I realized, though, is that I was focused. What I realized is focused, when not defined, becomes a default position to survival. Said a different way is that if you're not focused and you're not clearly intentional, you live quite unintentional. You cover what's already important: making rent, surviving, making ends meet. So for me, I found that over the years, being a real pro, if it were, at money, and then understanding leadership and omnipresence, and then working in the world of performance psychology, and then working in the world of business, that's how I came up with my acronym of MORE. I became very good, very masterful in those 4 domains: money, omnipresence, results, and entrepreneurship. That's what gives me that acronym, MORE, M-O-R-E, money, omnipresence, results, and entrepreneurship. So now that I'm fully loaded with a very wide, vast, masterful skill set, even though now I'm clear on what I'm good at, but I'm also clear on what I'm not good at. You don't hear relationship in there, or love, or spirituality. And those things are important too. I'm just not a master in those domains. I can't say and put my hand up and say, I can really move the needle for people in that domain of life. I don't believe I'm a living demonstration in those areas of my life. And as a result, I won't preach nor teach about them. Does that make sense? That's just my personal policy. And when that shifts or changes for me and I feel like I'm at home with that, then perhaps I'll add it to my acronym. But what I noticed was the one that lit me up. In other words, if you're writing down notes and you've been following my coaching for some time, my calling is connected to my specialization. In other words, my life's intention speaks to one of those 4. And that's where money came in. Now, for a lot of you, you might be saying, well, how did you pick one? You're going to pick the game that moves you the most. And that I want you to write down. We often pick a conversation or a topic that keeps us amongst company, keeps us welcomed, keeps it comfortable, keeps us in this experience and the sense of belonging. But what I found was when I talked about a lot of this other stuff, it didn't move me. It didn't make a difference. But when I started talking about money, it was important for me, and therefore it became important for all. I'll say that in a different way, but shorter, is that you'll pick the one thing to focus on that is most important to you. It has to be. Otherwise, talking about anything else in life is just your way of serving others. But in order to serve others powerfully, you've got to first serve yourself. You've got to serve yourself. It's good to see you, Andreas. So knowing that the old conversation about money was always about focus on financial. And what I realized growing up was that the distinctions about financial weren't made. People hadn't been talking about money, wealth, and worth like 3 separate distinctions about our experience of stuff. And I've talked about this before. I'm going to breeze through this so I can give you the real meat and potatoes for today. This is all about getting your financial focus in place. And understanding that there's 3 distinctions always moving allows you to have a scoreboard that's bigger than just the points on goal. It has you measure assists. It has you measure, goal plays. It has you measure fast break points. It has you measure other things. It's like you're aiming for a triple double rather than just winning the game. You may be like LeBron James having triple doubles, great time in his point of career, but the Lakers aren't, winning, quite frankly. My poor Lakers. So you can tell that he's playing a different game, that although the team may lose, he's winning at his own personal game, continuing to climb the ladder of points and recognition to become a GOAT in his own right. So understanding those distinctions, money, wealth, and worth, allows you to first understand what areas you can focus on. Everyone sets financial goals, but what financial goal? Do you want more cash, more spending power? Do you want more wealth as in assets like house, car, and stuff? Or do you want more worth, the power and the freedom to choose and spend your time as you wish? And if you want a hybrid of all three, what is the proportions in which you're focusing on? Here's a little hint, by the way. Depending on the stage in your life, it will shape the state in your life, your financial life. Typically, as we're younger, you want more purchasing power. As we grow older, we want more wealth and more worth. The idea is that as we hit our 40s, 50s, and 60s and beyond, none of which I think anyone's age in that category here, there's a bunch of young people, with the exception of me and Don, you end up striking more worth. Having more money is not an important game to play. You've played it. You played it 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. Y'all get that? Michelle, I would have never guessed. You look fantastic. So as we get older, as we grow wiser, we place value differently in different distinctions of our world. So why is it important? Because in the old financial planning conversations, the way the financial planning world worked with setting out financial plans was always based on goals and objectives. But that was always set on projections that were based on needs that were actually principled on our own set of basic predictability. Meaning, if you asked me what was important to me in the future at the age of 20, I would have a completely different relationship of my future than I do today. Make sense? I mean, I've got a family, I've got friends, I've got causes, I've got philanthropic interests, I've got other things. But you see, again, one more time, is that projections that financial plans are based on is based on a time of our reference and view and opinion of the future. Now, you're probably wondering what the hell's this got to do with the financial focus? Well, you got to know your financial focus is an extension of financial futures. And a future of any kind is created, not given. If you're not creating what you're focusing on, your focus is defaulting for you. You'll keep going to work and you're going to keep checking in and you're going to keep earning a paycheck and you're going to still continue doing that thing. And you'll wonder once in a while, gosh, why is this any different? Why isn't this getting better? Why am I not growing? Why don't I have more money, more savings, more opportunity? Why? And it's because you haven't created a relationship to a financial future that has you at the center of causing that. More on that soon. So we all have a view about the future. The point, though, is that view is based on your past. And for those who've caught my coaching consistently, your past isn't about the stuff that's gone wrong and the upsets and the defeats. It also includes your victories. But the past is the world called your thrownness. Your thrownness. The world in which you were thrown into and you had no say in, right? Remember that coaching call where you are a composition of a bunch of stuff that you had no choice in. Like when you were born, you had no say in the color of your skin, your faith, your parents, your language, even your country of origin. You have no say. You showed up and that's it. That state of which you were thrown into is your thrownness. That's your default past. So you are a byproduct of that thrownness. Physically, mentally, spiritually, and conversationally. And those things shape how you view the future. Bless you, Mikey. So the conundrum that you're in is that unless you know that you're actually a byproduct of a past that's choosing you, you've got to choose a future. So focus, in fact, converging on what it is you wish to have is actually an extension of creating what you wish to get. You have to have your hands on some utensils. You've got to be drawing and mapping out what is it that you really want to create for yourself. So there has to be a shift for you. Before I give you the gold, let me get you to dig for a moment. What you've got to know is there has to be a shift of what it's going to take to really have a powerful relationship with a financial life, with your financial life. So the first distinction you got to ask yourself, is it good or is it great? And the difference between good and great is defined by it being whole, complete, and performing. Whole, complete, and performing. In a simple language, in a simple linguistic screen, I would say it's someone who knows what they've got, what they need, or an action around it. And that which they've got is earning more. It's whole. I got everything I need and I know what I don't have. It's complete. I'm cool with that. I have no gripe or upset. And it's performing. I've got people working on this. I've hired somebody. I've got money placed. It's generating dough. But most people just focus on performing. Where can I get a great return on my money? Who can get me double-digit returns? Who can guarantee me this? And they skip the first two parts, which is being whole and complete. Whole and complete, which is your relationship to your money, your wealth, your worth. And I'm going to let you in on a secret because I feel like the older I get, the more these secrets become obvious points of wisdom. And I think for my mature audience here, you'll appreciate this. Is the older I get, the more I realize that I want to be the author of what comes next. And it's not that I'm losing trust in those who give me advice. They have no vested interest in me making it. They're just transacting with me and we hope together I do. But in 5 or 10 or 15 years, if I come short, who's it on? It's on me. So I'd rather be very whole and complete and learn all I can to ensure that I've got my hands on the controls and the levers of what comes next. So being able to have a shift with your own financial life comes down to these 4 terms, which starts to open the door to the gold I want to give you. First, this year, if you want to really have for yourself financial life focus, the first thing you've got to really embrace is being and growing more financially competent. There's some learning you've got to do. So if talking about money and talking about wealth and talking about worth, it jazzes you up and it lights you up because it's like, man, if I had more of anything, that would just really make my life great. It'd make my wife happy, my husband happy, the kids taken care of, or just me far more flourishing, where I can tour the world, right, Andreas, looking for the world's greatest arts and bringing them into the people's lives. But in order to do that, right, Andreas, you've got to be competent in what you're doing. And a lot of people here still don't have any sense of financial literacy. So to give you a little hint, you've got to learn what money is. You've got to understand what we've come to call as a term, financial literacy. So a function of restoring your financial focus, the first requirement is really grow your financial competence. And it's not just literacy as understanding what a cash is, what bonds are, what stock market is, what real estate does. It's not just terms and phrases. It's also being financially competent with yourself. What have you got? Where is everything? What do I have? What do I owe? Could you close your eyes and know for absolute certain where everything is in your home that financially lays out the picture for you and your family? Or is it a mess? Is it in a pile? Is it in a cute little stack underneath the dryer or in the trunk of your car? Because ignorance is bliss. So financial competence allows you to generate more awareness for what your responsibility is for financial focus. The second requirement to shifting your relationship with your financial focus this year is going to be being more financially reliable. And what I mean by financial reliability is understanding that wherever you've made financial commitments, you can consistently generate fulfilling that. Whether it's an investment plan, a savings plan, whether it was something that you bought. You see, hold on a second. We're really good at fulfilling financial obligations. Yeah. You pay your mortgage, your rent, you pay your share on time. I mean, when I look at this group, generally speaking, I see a lot of responsible people who likely don't get chased down by creditors all that much. Once in a while, we all do, because you forget about this. What do you mean I had that bill? I didn't realize that. I didn't realize it got that bad. It happens. It happens to the best of us. But what I'm trying to say as a broad statement is that all of you are really good at maintaining your financial obligations, right? Financial obligations. But what I mean about financial reliability is that when you say, I want to save money, do you trust yourself to do so? Like, would you write a check against a future savings amount 12 months from now and know that that money will be there? Like, do you pay yourself first? Do you really hit your savings goals? Really? So when I say financial reliability is that you know that when you give your word and make a commitment to your financial life goals, whatever they might be, whether in the domain of money, wealth, or worth, you can be reliable for it. Because I'll tell you something, friends, that will restore a lot of financial faith in yourself. The third is your financial truth. And that is an extension of financial competence and financial reliability. It's telling the truth on yourself. And it's not about truth as in like what I know and what I don't know. It's financial truth as like, where is your financial life really? Have you produced and do you have, and I've got to say the only speaker that ever talks about this, and I got to give him some credit because he's my old uncle, and that's Uncle G, that's Grant Cardone. I mean, I remember running one of the world's largest real estate investment clubs, one of my dearest families I miss dearly. And there's a couple of you guys here, you know who you are, the folks at Rain. I mean, gosh darn it, we should, and I still believe on an annual basis, people should produce a financial statement for themselves. So that back in my old days, when people say, I want to invest in real estate and become financially independent, fantastic. Let's sit down since it's the first of the new year and do a financial statement. What have you got? What do you owe? Where are we at? So we know at least where you financially are. Because in order to get to where you want to be, we got to know what we're dealing with right now. Remember what coaching is. Financial coaching is no different. Here you are, here you want to go. Point A, point B. But sometimes the reason why largely financial great plans don't work is because we don't know what we're really dealing with in the background. And people get caught up in the journey, learning, growing, borrowing, joint venturing, whatever it might be, investing even. And they're still not happy. And you want to know why? Because they're still not meeting all the demands on them because we weren't mutually clear if you're working in a partnership. So I think that understanding your financial truth, a great word to use and write down if you're a coach, especially if you're a financial coach here, because that's one of the things I'm definitely standing for this year is I think there's going to be a rise of new money mentors, new financial coaches. And we're really delighted to be offering that kind of programming for people just like you, is getting to people's financial truth is truly the catalyst of being free. All right, here's what I make. Here's what I've got. Here's what I've saved. Now, here's what I owe. Here's what's outstanding. Here are my payments. And here's where I am. And now that's the what so, the financial what so. What people don't realize that when you write that stuff down, guess what happens about financial statements? They're temporary, not permanent. And the only person that gets to see them is who? Is you. No one else is going to see them, so no one else will have to judge you. So it's a good personal exercise to go through. So once you have financial life competence and you've got financial life reliability, where you can really count on your statement of goals, aspirations, and intentions, like I can count on that because I'm saying I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. Financial truth is important. But here comes the big door open. And this leads us to the majority of the call today. And that's your financial future. In other words, we have to shift our relationship to our financial life through those four ways: your financial life competence, reliability, your truth, but your future. And a financial future is created. And I'm going to go into how you do that and build for you the awareness attributes so that you know that you're either living a financial future by default or one that's created. And the difference between the two is your financial future shouldn't just happen to you. It should happen for you. So everything that's I'm doing in my financial life is happening according to my plan. Why? Because everything works when I work it. And that includes financially. So I'll get into that in a moment. So let me pause for a second. What have I said that resonates with you, that's bringing up maybe a question? Or you might want to repeat what I said to say, hey, I think I heard this right, but I want to say it because this sounds pretty profound, prolific, or earth-shattering. Who wants to speak? I want to make sure that this is a conversation, not just a delegation of thoughts and opinions. I'm going to go to Naran first and then Dr. Claudine next.
Hey, Richard. Hey, everybody. I'm driving, so apologies for the noise.
Well, then please drive safely. Okay. Don't look at the camera, but please drive safely.
I'm not looking at the camera. um, taking account of where you're at financially at the present, like to see what is going on in your life today is crucial. It is so important. For so many years, Richard, I kept chasing financial dreams without taking the time, and not just the time, the courage needed to face the present. Because to face the present is to look at what you have created with all its benefits, but also all the warts and negative stuff. And when we ignore it, it's like, I found that it was like the monster, the childhood monster that lives under the bed. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But when you face it, it shrinks in size. And if you work with somebody like yourself, Richard, you get to break it down to bite-sized pieces and really see what it is. And when you can do that for yourself or for like I raise capital for real estate, for joint venture partners, it is eye-opening and it brings so much freedom.
I love it. I love that that's the case. And I love that that's what you're saying. I think that's important that you said it, because at the end of the day, as Naran's on the road, and I appreciate you being a contributor on the call, because especially on the go, is that you've got to be willing to really take a look at yourself first. I mean, for anybody that's coaches, mentors, and trainers here, it's really easy to help people see for themselves where they are. But you disempower yourself as a coach if you don't do the work first. You really do. You get to vicariously live through the aha moments and the genius and the spectacle and the fireworks of seeing other people get it. But you still live under the impact of envy of like, wow, they get it. I haven't yet done it, but no one knows it. And this is what I mean about being a living demonstration for the work that you do. Whatever you sell, whatever you're selling, whether you're selling sales training or real estate investing or financial independence, whatever business you're in, what I believe, and I'm going to say this right now, being a coach for me puts me on the line. That everything and anything I speak about, I have to live about. If I'm not living it, I'm not teaching it. So I get to be the first greatest client of my own practice. The top paying client I've got is me. You don't say, Richard. How's that working out for you? Well, not too shabby. I appreciate you asking. But that's my point. It's as cute as that. I mean, that's the reality. You've got to really do that. And Naran, you're a great byproduct of someone who's taken on the coaching, doing it to yourself, and so that you can really hear a mile away where people are struggling. So well done. Well done. Come in, Dr. Claudine. Good to see you. Happy New Year to you.
It's a happy New Year. Happy New Year. Thank you for having us here. I'm so grateful to be here. So my aha moment is to create your financial future. How you do that? Where do you start? Because I always ask a financial expert to tell us how you project your business future from nothing. They don't answer my question. So how you create a financial future when you don't have enough money, more money, Because the world, we understand that you have to have a lot of money. Maybe it's another misconception. Maybe you're going to help us about that again. Thank you. Thank you very much for having this.
Welcome. No, you're welcome. You're always so courteous. And you're right. We're going to get to that next. A lot of people talk, and I got to tell you, before I go up to Mike Gumnani, my dear friend, and Mark Jean, Business Machine, my dear friend in Beverly Hills, I'll say this. In our world of coaching, a lot of people talk about what you should do with your money, where you should be putting your money. But what if you don't have any? What if you don't have a lot? What if you don't think in your mind you have enough that will make even a dent into the dreams and aspirations that you've got if you were to put it into a plan of any kind? Y'all get what I'm just trying to say? Like, where do I go to generate more so I can do that? Because it's easy for people with money to define and dictate for others what they should be doing with some. But most people don't have disposable income. And most people aren't comfortable borrowing quite yet. So what's the fix? I will get to the what, because that's the truth. There's something that you can do. But I will say this, I will preface it. There's a warning label. There is something you've got to do to get more of what you require and must have. So that's just the warning label, but I'll get to it. Let me go to Mike Gumnani, all the way out in New Jersey. Good to see you, buddy. How are you, man?
Hey, how are you, man? Happy Saturday, everyone. I think I just wanted to add, most of the time it's about chasing every silver object out there. They're not using common sense. And most of the time they're living the lie, knowing that they must change, but either are scared or are egoistically challenged as well. They know they have to change, but can't have someone tell them that they need to, focus on different things. And most of the time also focusing is also about eliminating what doesn't work. Because they keep on doing or trying to get everything, they fall back into not doing nothing at all. And sometimes also about gratitude, at the same time being thankful as well. So I just wanted to add that.
No, I love that you did, because you're a financial leader, and that makes a lot of sense. And what you've done is you've had a lot of people generate a lot of incredible insights. I mean, like Chris says, that's where he's at. That's what makes it scary. I mean, Andreas, my dear friend, he's I know where you are. I want to put my money, but I'm afraid to go all in, dude. I want to chase my dream, but it's hard to take the step, and that makes complete sense. Luckily for Andreas, I mean, he's a part of my team, so I'm going to buckle him up and take him where he's got to go. But Matthew Soltis, our dear friend on the other side of the planet, who's visiting us here in Canada, he's a simplify to multiply, and I love that as a great banner. Before we go to Mark and then Nima, and I'll get back to the lecture, I want to say something what Mike did say. Mike Gumnani pointed it out, that what I said earlier on is that there are 4 relationships you must shift to really empower your financial focus. And that was your competence, reliability, truth, and future. Yeah. What those annihilate, and if you're writing down notes, is you annihilate ignorance. Because most of us, and especially financially, we live financially ignorant. We'd rather not know. That is the only game in life where we don't open up statements regularly. We don't call the bank to see what our balance truly is. We don't want to talk to the financial advisor to know how we're truly doing. I don't open up the economic side of the paper to see how we're really making out, because ignorance is bliss. If I don't know, I don't care. And that speaks to the point that Mike just brought up. But that's why those 4 areas of being able of relationship to your financial life is so important. If you're not competent, but you're reliable, truthful, and you've got a future created, guess what? It won't matter, because you don't know what you need to know. If you're not reliable, but you're competent, you've got the truth and you got a future, it doesn't matter, because you're not going to do what you say you're going to do. You need those 4 relationships intact and healthy to those 4 domains of moving the needle for your financial life for it to really show up for you as something powerful. Let me get to Mark and then over to Nima. Thanks, Mikey.
Hi, Rich. Good morning. One of the things, what Naran said kind of resonated with me too, just about planning and knowing where you're at so that you can plan for the future. But I think one of the biggest things that I've learned over the past few years have been just from dumb mistakes that I've made with money that, still don't escape me, but just the skill of knowing how to earn money. That has really helped me out. So I think learning how to network with people, keeping those connections alive and things like that I do, and just maintaining those skills that I've learned help me to go, okay, I've just made some dumb mistakes. I've just lost some investments. Now just start exercising those skills again to start earning more money. So those are the things that have helped me and that I've learned the past couple of years.
And what Mark just said was very powerful, by the way. I want everyone to make a note of this. Do you know that your financial life is one of the only areas that we actually measure? And as a result of being one of the only areas that we actively measure, judgment thrives. You know what I'm saying, right? When you open up a statement, let's say your investment statement, and you're down, you can't help but feel like an idiot. Oh, why did I put it there? Right? Or if you open the statement and you're up, you're like, damn, I'm a hero. I'm smart. Right? And so, but it's the only place that we measure on a regular basis, because it's the only place that specificity actually lives. We don't weigh ourselves as regularly as we should. We don't go to the doctors as often as we should and are required. We don't measure anything else in our lives except the ultimate yardstick, which is all things financial. Neighbor buys a new car and you're still driving a shitbox. You're like, damn, what am I doing wrong? Right? You hear your friends or your family going away on their 3rd or 4th vacation this year. You're like, wow, I haven't been away in 3 years. What am I doing wrong? Like, there's yardsticks that we hear, and we always are comparing ourselves. And comparing is a default behavior, which is an extension of our keepers, to keep you safe and reminded that not only are you not measuring up, but you're staying behind, because that's safe. So this is why the financial game, if you're able to shift your relationship to playing it, guys, if you just shift your relationship to playing that game, you can crush any game. That's why I like playing the money game. It's, for me, it's not about more money. It's not about more wealth. It doesn't matter about what I get to buy. It's about who I get to be, because I'm playing a game with such measurable precision. I can do that and crush being a dad, and crush being a contributor, and crush being a coach, because I have a healthy relationship to measuring things. I'm not impacted by if I'm up or if I'm down. And the people who are really out there saying that, man, this is an easy game, are crushing it because we're all helping them win it. I want to see someone who's by themselves on their own without any support crush a game. Now that person I'll follow, because most people are alone on their own and are being relied upon, like you are, Mark, like you are, Mike, like you are, Phil, like you are, Vincent, right? Like this is a team sport, but it's a solo event. It's on us. So that's why I'm impressed by people who say, look, I took it from 0 to hero, and here's how you can too. So Mark, I got to tell you, that's really great. I love that. He said one big word. I want you all to write this down, is skills. Where would a growth in skill set fit in your financial life if you were to measure what growth or development you've got? Where would you say, Mark?
Sorry, I was writing a note down.
That's okay. So when you look at your financial life, and it's all things money, it's all things wealth, and it's all things worth, as you're growing more skillful, networked, greater, et cetera, and that's a value, what pot, what tub, what bucket would you put that as an asset in?
I mean, the skill that I'm really trying to learn right now is how to create more passive income, because that's one of the things I want to create for myself, just to have that freedom and something that can be, as Grant Cardone, is something that's undestructible. Because, and that's why I like.
Back up though. Let's not get seduced by the wonderful, seductive nature of great battle cries. Cash flow, more time. So folks, what bucket does that have his financial focus down, zero in on? It's worth. So guess what the scoreboard's going to look like? Given the week I've had and given the investments I've made, have I been able to be awarded more time with the things and the people I love and want to do? You see the shift now? It's coming. More on that in a minute, Mark, but I'm happy I hear your voice, because I want to get back to this lecture, but I see Nima's here. So let me hear what she has to say first, and then we'll get back to it. But that's very critical. The game you're playing gives rise to a new scoreboard, and that scoreboard becomes the new metric. So for you, the game you're going to crush this year is more time. It's not more yield. It's not more cash flow. It's a combination. I'll get to that because I'm going to break them down for you. Come on in, Nima.
Good morning, everybody, or hi, everybody. Thanks, Rich. This is a great call at the beginning of the year. It gets us right on especially finances, right? We're always trying to make more money or lose weight. So I think those are the two major ones. Now, for me, I think the biggest thing that stuck with me today was the financial truth. And I looked at it from your loss perspective. Every time you're lost, most of us are, trying to go somewhere, make more money, buy something new. But you really have to come back to what's the present? And that's your financial truth. All that's happening, why is it happening? You have to come back to your present, to your truth, before you can go forward. So that's the biggest one. And I think the best one for me was if you write your check, let's say 1 year ahead, will it, hold, will it bounce? So it's just great insight. So, and I think we should have Rich labs on how to actually do our finances and things like that. So just putting it out there.
No, I love it. I love it. We'll do a lot of things around that. And by the way, that's why this battle cry for me is so important. I mean, some people might know that that's my name, but to me, it's the standard. And by the way, I still proudly wear my 10X. But when I wear my 10X around, people will say, wow, 10X, I've seen that before. What does that mean? And you got to ask yourself, what does it mean? To me, 10X is the accelerator. But to me, Rich is the destination. That's a big difference. Because I've never seen someone living a 10X life that welcomes others. But I attest that to a speed, like to a velocity. Does that make sense? Just give me a bit of an okay. So if someone says, oh, I'm living a 10x life, well, what does that mean? How does a 10x life look? I'd rather be living a rich life, rich in the areas that matter. I want to be like Andreas and be able to travel the world on his terms and still make a living, but do what he loves. I want to be like Yusuf and follow his pursuits as a great trainer of wonderful fighters in Germany. I want to be able to live on my terms like Louis is. You know, I want to really be absolutely at peace, but still build a business like Mike is. Like that may not be 10x. 10x is the speed in which you move at and or the savings in which you've awarded yourself because you've moved with velocity. To me, it's a compressor. It's an accelerator. That's 10x to me. And that's why I think 10x is going to save a lot of lives. I think it's going to make people live longer and happier. I believe that for Grant, and I believe that for those who are a big part of the 10x nation, as I remain to be. But where does that bring me? Because at some point I used to say that 10x is not a standard you live up to and through. It's a standard that keeps causing you. But for what? Like to where? I'll get to that in a moment. But Vincent just snuck in here. So let me just see what he has to say so I can get back to this lecture, because I reckon we might run over by a few minutes.
Hey, Rich. Hey, everyone. Good morning. I love the conversation. I think one of the biggest things I want to say is, who are you surrounding yourself with when you're talking about this? So the fact that you're actually on this call, listening to this, the fact that, Rich, you're presenting this and helping others out to get focused, that to me is your financial truth and understanding where you're going to be and how to create your future. If you're surrounding yourself with folks that aren't focused and maybe spending recklessly and not intentionally, well, that also matters, right? So I just want to call that out.
You know what? I'm so glad you said that, because that's a really good point, and that's a great acknowledgement to give everybody. If you're writing down notes, write this down. And I've heard this a number of times. And since we're talking a bit about Grant and Brendan Dawson, I'll say this. Between all of those guys, they would often say that proximity breeds power, right? But I also know it brings you possibilities, but it also gives you presence. So that's to your point. Like this group right now, I'm not trying to do a rah. I'm not trying to motivate you and say I. This is about just slowing down before you speed back and say, look, just get present to what is, what isn't, and what can be. And now let's go, right? For my mastery graduates here, this is an extension of the conversation around understanding the importance of reflecting, right? Reflect, retreat, and then act on an instinct. We're too quick to come with thoughts and ideas, and this is what we're going to do. We're far more committed to reacting than we are to recreating. Because the reaction is a judgment-based response to things. Well, this is what I'm supposed to do. Quickly just bounce back. So that's spot on. The spirit of what you said, Vincent, is heard. So well done. All right, let's get to the gold, because I opened up the door. I want to make sure I arm you with inside the next 10 minutes. In the next 10 minutes, and we'll wind this call down to let you all get to your weekends, your Saturdays, your ventures and adventures. I want to thank you all for being here, by the way. So great to see you, Patricia. Good to see you, Matt. It's great to see you, Jim and Jackson. It's so good to have you guys here. Grateful for you guys to be here with me on a Saturday morning. Thank you. We really, I'm grateful for having you here. I mean, if you really love how I coach and how I do what I do, believe me, that Rich Advisor program, that Financial Life program, those programs that Rich you, that's your year. Those are the places that you'd want to take a look at. Research them, look at them, but you too can do what I do. We've codified everything. We've coursified everything. We've programmed everything. So I don't just do what I do by accident. I do it by design. I follow a program, a format, and I produce results based on a process. So if you're interested, if you want to learn more, let us know, and we're more than happy to share that with you. So to Claudine's point, Dr. Claudine, and love to you back, is the what? Because what I admire a lot, and I got a lot of appreciation in touring my country, my home country of Canada, where I would spend a lot of time in Saskatchewan and in Alberta and even the lower mainland of BC. And I was always impressed by what farmers do. I believe farmers are the purest form of alchemists, turning dirt into gold, again, to harvest, working with nothing and producing something for people to sustain and live by. You all get that? So a big shout out to our farmers in the world. So what I love is what they do is they farm. And an act of farming is planting seeds, nurturing them, paying massive attention to it for an outcome. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. So the 4 laws of being able to create a great financial life. Remember, a good one is what we've got. A great one is what you deserve, right? One that is whole, complete, and performing. The first thing you got to do this year, if you've not already, is you must own a business. You must own a business. Hands down, full stop. You need to own a business. You need to start affording the right of tax deductions that are permissible for you in the country in which you live in, right? You must. What's up, Doug V? I miss you, buddy. I see you're here. You've got to own a business. You've got to own a business that says, hey, I've got a full-time job. I've got a full-time gig. I may have employment, or we already have a side business or a side hustle or a family business, but I'm going to have a new business. And for those who don't have any business, but they're an employee, you've got to have a business. A business allows you to not just moonlight. It's not about being able to have multiple streams of revenue. It sets your brain, your community and family up to say, we have another iron in the fire. We're going to start planting some seeds. Now, what kind of business that should be one that generates cash. Number one, that's a requirement. It should generate revenue. Number two, it should be something that can grow in value over time. That's important. So whether you want to start an MLM company or get into network marketing or become a coach, right? Or a speaker or a trainer or the combination of those things, whether you want to buy a business, even if it's a vending machine, it doesn't matter. You've got to get into business. That's the first requirement. The second is that you've got to generate income, save money. And I don't mean just generate income that you've got. You've got to generate more income than you've got. The requirement of having a business now allows you to generate more income, save more money. This is going to give you the actual commodity, the very thing, the very resource you need more of to get more from. So Andreas, for example, let's take you, for example, my dear friend who's a marketing specialist, someone I rely upon, a part of my team, who's touring right now in the world. I think he's in Istanbul, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, give me an okay if that's where you are, brother. Good to see you there on a cafe. I love it when I see people around the world just dialing in. But based on what you want to do, what's the business you would set up? Given that you're already in the marketing business, well, maybe you can get into the coaching business, coaching people on how to build their own art collections. And everyone should park their money into art in some way as a part of their investment portfolio. I know I do. So if you're interested in preserving and protecting money, and you know art is a very future focused and accruing and growing asset to invest in, but you don't know what to buy, come to my website, click on this link, and you're able to subscribe to my service where I'll coach you and even show members only arts around the world worth collecting. And members get a discount based on what I'm able to negotiate from the galleries or the artists directly. What a cool side hustle. It's a business, it's bona fide, but it's in alignment to what he already does, and they can coexist. One doesn't feel foreign to the other. You all get that? And brother, if there's anyone that can build that, that'd be you. And if you know anybody that's successful in the coaching business, and I have an idea that you might, we'll be able to build that with you. But that's cool, right? That's why Rule was built, Vincent and Naran, right? Being able to really coach people, which is actually a great way for you to have that business. So you've got to generate more income so that you can save more money. The problem is that when we generate more income by happenstance, whether it's you win a lottery, you get an inheritance, or you have a huge windfall, like a bonus or a payout or a distribution, we increase our lifestyle to match that momentarily phenomenon of new money. And you shouldn't. We should be saving it. You've got to live within those means. So without this becoming about financial responsibility, let me just get to those 4. The third is you want to then start buying cash flowing assets. Now, this is where a real big lie is told, and I was part of the lying agency where real estate is the way to go. And by the way, it's true. Real estate is a really wonderful asset to get to. But as I just witnessed last night with my son crushing my family in Park Place and Park Avenue with 3 homes on each, I didn't realize that rent is $1,700, and I hit them both. I mean, folks, I hit them both, wipe me out. Point being is this, is that you got to have money to make money. He had to spend a lot of dough to wipe out mine. So real estate's a great thing to get to, but not if you only have a few dollars to your name. So when you buy assets that are generating income, you can buy yourself a vending machine that sells pop, chips, or maybe more nutritional snacks. You can buy into franchises. You can buy into companies or businesses, private ventures, and maybe even be a part of a private joint venture group that's buying collectively a piece of real estate. But it has to cash flow. No long-term thinking. This will go up in time. I know I've got a winner here. Zero gambling, folks. Zero. You want to gamble? Go to Vegas. And if you play the lottery, use $1. But when it comes to buying assets that cash flow, you can start small. Vending machines start at 4, 5, 8 grand. I mean, it's still money, but it's not the hundreds of thousands of dollars you might need to get into real estate that matters. Make sense? But you can get there. You can get there. The final one, though, the fourth requirement to really getting a great financial life this year, I mean, owning a business, generating more income, saving more money, buying cash flowing assets, starting small, thinking big. But the fourth is be happy. Your happiness isn't out there when you get there. Your happiness isn't going to be in your sense of flourishing, and happiness is going to be out there when you arrive somewhere financially. It just won't. Right now, you've got to be happy knowing that there's a new journey for you. And so the state in which you bring is the state that you're going to get. If it's going to be a grind, it'll always be heavy. If you always feel behind, you'll never get ahead. If you bring the attitude that you're not enough, you will always be just that. So you've got to know that if you're happy knowing that you're going to take complete control and ownership for where you're at, and you're going to start setting yourself up to get out there, what's up, Tara? Then you're going to do that. Now, a couple of areas that there's breakdowns, actually, you know what? I'm going to share the breakdowns in a moment, because I'm going to give you the 4 warning breakdowns, because I want to make sure, because this is right here, a certified financial life professional. And Keith is an active participant in the community of providing just the coaching I do. So when he puts a hand up, I know it's a qualified statement. So come on in, Keith. What do you want to add?
You know, you've said, just been listening, and so many things you said. And one of the things that people get shut down on is even considering any opportunity that somebody may tell them they might want to consider. And it comes to because they have a belief because of something they heard, something their dad said, their grandpa said, their mother said, their brother said, their sister said, whoever. Somebody told them that that's not the kind of opportunity you should ever consider. And so it comes back a little bit to the 3 keepers, but it's not having the willingness to evaluate and analyze something that somebody may say, consider this as this opportunity that maybe I'm using this cash flow, or I heard this person's using this cash flow. It wasn't for me, but maybe it's for you, whatever it is, or this investment or that investment. And I think that's where we often, as people, shut ourselves down, is we don't stay open to the consideration of opportunity. Because what does it take to hear someone speak of an opportunity? All it takes is an open mind and a little bit of time. It doesn't cost you anything other than some brain space to make some decisions either whether you want to move forward to consider that, or whether, no, you know what, that doesn't sound right for me, doesn't feel right for me, doesn't fit for me. And that's where I've really had to not only shift for myself, but even those that I coach, to try to help them to understand and see that opportunity is the one place where we have to catch ourselves from not just saying no right away and going, you know what? Yeah, I'm willing to have a conversation. And that's where I think that when you talk about that happiness, how can you get to that happiness if you're never willing to consider anything that could make you happy?
That's right. And, you know, on Keith's point, here's how I would say it, not to say that he said it wrong. I'm just going to say it in my own way, is that you've got to let go the way it's going to be. It's going to go the best way you can make it happen. This is the age of innovation and disruption. I mean, thanks to technology, we can make money in various ways. I had to file taxes for my 16-year-old last year because he was trading cryptocurrencies and NFTs. I mean, I would have never guessed 15 years ago that a 16-year-old today would have been able to do that. You all get that? So what I'm saying is that you've got to let go the way you think it must go. You've got to let go of the yardsticks, your views, your opinions. That's what keeps us stuck. Because until it looks this way or looks that way, or it feels this way or it looks that way, we won't do anyway. So I love that Keith said that. You've got to be open-minded and remain to be inventive and creative around that subject. So here's the 4 breakdowns, and I'm going to wind this down because we're now over time, and I apologize for that. But we'll wind down in a few short moments. But you need to have these. It's kind of like these are the warning signals and the flags that's going to distract you from now setting out in 2023 to make this all about me, not me, but you. So the breakdowns, you got to look for yourself. You got to look for yourself where you lack discipline. When I coach clients, especially around their financial life, the first thing I want to understand is the relationship to discipline. Give me an example of your calendar. Do you work out? Are you on an eating regimen? Oh, you fast. Tell me about it. I want to know what the relationship to discipline is like. Because if I can understand the relationship to discipline, I will tell you how their financial life is going to go. Because to have a great financial life is to mean living with a sense of discipline. So look in your life where your relationship to discipline is. Sticking to the plan, doing what you say you're going to do, fulfilling your commitments. Not about reaching goals. Goals can be elusive. Yeah. Number 2 is look where you live with compromise. This is big and eye-opening. This is big and eye-opening. You know, my son's at that age where I said, if you're hungry, start the oven, preheat it, and you can get yourself anything you want to eat out of the freezer. Do you know what he does? Little smart ass. He buys a microwave. Next thing you know, I come downstairs one day and I see a microwave on the counter. I go, where did I don't have a microwave. I go, where did this microwave come from? He goes, Dad, 18 minutes to preheat something, 15 minutes to cook it. That's 30 minutes of time. I can cook the same stuff in 30 seconds. Now, that's a great compromise. But if you're going to start taking shortcuts, right, you better start compromising your taste buds, son, because it ain't going to taste the same. Nothing wrong with a microwave. I have my own personal views on it. So if you start living with a microwave, where else will you cut corners? So compromise isn't just making do without, it's also making do with, but the value and the quality of the experiences come down. You don't fit into those dress pants anymore, but you discover Lululemon. You're like, thank God, rather than jumping on a treadmill or losing some weight. Nothing wrong with wearing Lululemon track pants, by the way, under a suit jacket. I'm just telling you right now as a fashion statement. It's actually not too bad. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. The third is where you renegotiate your goals. This is one of my favorite ones. You know, I really wanted $1 million by the time I was 30, but you know what? Like $500,000's not bad. You know, $250,000's not bad. You know, 50 grand is not, you know what? I'm cool with the $500. I'm cool with this. You start renegotiating your goals. This is where you start averaging down. This is where you start actually getting comfortable with where you're at. When you renegotiate your goals is when you shrink them or you minimize them or you undo their importance or the gravity they were first actually created. And then, or you minimize your commitments. That's the fourth. You start thinking that, oh, I'm supposed to be prioritizing because I went to a workshop that says just do the top 3 things that matter most. Let me cut these ones down. And by the way, a really great telltale place that you minimize commitments is you reduce action. Who said going to the gym 5 times a week is important? Twice is fine. Once is good. Once a month is enough. You start to, in fact, reduce action. So those are the breakdowns that will lend you good insight to know that you are no longer in pursuit of a great financial life. You are starting to notice that you are lacking discipline, or there's areas of your life that you're living with compromise, microwaves included. I'm just totally kidding. Nothing wrong with a microwave. You're renegotiating your goals, or you're minimizing your commitments, which will show up in your world as you're reducing your actions. You're doing less. You're moving less. Make sense? So this call was the first call of a new year. And it was all about restoring and reclaiming and recreating your financial focus. Your focus, after all, is all about what you put your entire life's focus and bandwidth into. After all, whatever you put yourself into, you deserve a return on that investment because it's you. Make sense? Guys, what an honor to be here with all of you. I'm super grateful that I've had this opportunity to spend this time this morning. I know that your hours could be spent in 100 different places, but you chose to be here. And for that, I'm grateful. So thank you so much. I hope you got a return on this investment of time. Thumbs up if so. Fantastic. If you want to learn how to coach like me, be a rich advisor, or produce money, mentorship, and financial coaching just like I do, making a living this way, making a difference, but man, just living life lit because of it, let us know. We'll be happy to guide you through a conversation on how you too can do what I've done. It's not about being like me. It's about letting me be an inspiration for you. And that's the beginning of great things to come. So guys, go be great, be safe, be blessed, but more importantly, be you.